He was born in Lithuania, Eastern Europe, and got in touch with Krishna consciousness and devotees in 1989. Having been a temple devotee in ISKCON in Vilnius, Lithuania, in the early 90s, he was looking for a bona fide guru. Finally, he met Srila Bhakti Prajnana Gosvami Maharaj in Vrindavan, 1999, and got Harinam from him. Srila then gave him the name Prajnana Das. Then he received Diksha initiation in 2000, during Srila first visit to Russia. Srila Bhakti Prajnana Gosvami Maharaj at once gave Prajnana Das an order to preach in his country and print his books in the Lithuanian language. During the festival of 2002 in Vrindavan, Srila gave Prajnana Das saffron point status of a brahmachari. After staying in Rupa's Nath and Gaudiya Math in Vrindavan, winter 2002 to 2003, and Gaur Govinda Gaudiya Math in Birmingham, 2004, Prajnana Das Brahmachari started organizing Srila Gurudev's sannyasi stores of Russia and Lithuania, and translated Srila Gurudev's and Vaishnava's Harikatha into Russian and Lithuanian languages on a regular basis. On Guru Purnima Day 2009, in Audidam, Srila Gurudev bestowed upon Prajnana Das the whole order of sannyas and the name Bhakti Sadhu Maharaj. After the disappearance of Srila Gurudev, he is now staying in most times on the guidance of Pujapa Bhaktivedanta Srila Goswami Maharaj. He does regular preaching in European countries, but this is his first time in this part of the world traveling to Peru, Trinidad, and now Mexico, and now here in Guyana. So we are very fortunate to have him here. So looking forward. He's very simple Maharaj, since I know him, very strict, very dedicated, serving Gurudev and all the Vaishnava and Radha Govinda. So I'm happy, and Achyutananda Prabhu is here. So welcome. So it was great for you too. Shri Bhakti Sadhu Maharaj. Also, we have not to mention Sujan Prabhu from Trinidad.
Namo Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shishima Bhaktivedanta Narayana Namo Vishnupadaya Acharya Simharupini Shishima Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Atimatya Charitraya Sarashitanam Chapalini Jivadute Sadhata Shri Namaste Manaya Gaurashaya Vigrahaya Krishna Kamaya Kacharya Rupananda Gauraya Gunamiti Swarup Prabhupadantaranga Sarva Satguna Shabini Mayavadatam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Shri Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I would like to convert pronouns to Lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and Glorification of Srila Sutra Satya Shishma Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev Only Srila Sutra Satya Shishma Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. My Param Gurudev, Nitya Prajnana Kesava Sutra Satya Shishma Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Maharaj, and these for their appearance today, and all the wonderful devotees, guests in Guyana, and Radha Govinda, Gaudiya Math, Hare Krishna. First of all, we are very, very happy to be here in this great, how to say, palace of devotion, a very great temple built by devotees of the Bhakti Prajnana family and all the devotees here. So first of all, very much amazed, very much grateful. We want to hear from you a little bit today. Glorification of Srila Bhakti. So first day is a great festival. So Buddha was always saying that grandfather is more merciful than the father. So Param Gurudev must bestow us very special message today, so I would like to request local devotees to glorify. Param Gurudev time is a bit short, so a little bit, like 5 minutes each. Then Chitnana Brahmacharya will also speak, and then your servant will try to glorify Param Gurudev. So the Guru is direct, I don't know. So you can take this one somehow, sit closer, take us and sit closer. Yeah, you see it so that Mike's cord is okay. Take this. Allez, bon. Take.
अज्ञानातिमिरन्दस्य जनजना सलकजात् सत्सुरनिमितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। देवं नारायणं वन्दे वृन्दावन्निवासिनाम् अनन्तगुणविशिष्टाकोटिवत्सल्यरूपिणं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं ततो जयामि। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So first of all, I offer my obeisances into the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Prajnana Gosvami Maharaja, my sister Guru, Srimati Krishna Priyadita Guranis, Bhakti Prajnana Gosvami Maharaja, Sita Bhakti Prajnana Maharaj, and all Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here, please accept my Danda Pranam, Hare Krishna. So today is a most auspicious day. It is the appearance of Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaja. And those who have read the book, the biography that Gurudev wrote about him, can have an idea of what such a personality is Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaja. How fortunate we are just to be in the line coming from him. How fortunate we are. This is real Guru mercy to be in line. No? This is actually our proud, no? Proud to have such a Vaishnava. Even Gurudev used to say, I cannot glorify my Gurudev. I cannot glorify my Gurudev. My Gurudev gave his life for the life of his Guru, for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Everything he did for him, completely surrendered soul. No? We see when was this big problem of with the Smarta Brahmanas, no? And Srila Prabhupada was establishing what is the meaning of Nitya Dharma, no? Nitya Dharma means Vaishnava, means that Dharma which concern only with the soul and with Bhakti and to achieve Krishna and to serve Krishna. And Smarta Brahmanas follow naimitic Dharma, circumstantial Dharma, means that Dharma. You're a Brahmana, you're a Kshatriya, you're a sannyasi, you're a brahmachari, so you have to act according to your position. So it is a dharma which is concerned with the body, no? How to maintain the body in a correct way, do Shraddha ceremony, worship your ancestors, no? Do atonement, do prayashchit. No? There are so many rules that rule social life, no? And it is what is most astonishing is that these kind of people actually they are not surrendered to Bhagavan. Most of what they are doing is to achieve more comfort in their own body, how to dharma, artha, moksha, how to achieve economic development or sense gratification, or how to go to Swarga. So actually, this has nothing to do with bhakti. So when Prabhupada came saying Sat Karmani Punami Pro Mantra Tantra Visadaraha, so even a Brahmana who is expert in the 6 types of activities, studying Sastra, teaching Sastra, giving charity, accepting charity, and others, and other activities. But if he is not a Vaisnava, he shall not be accepted as Guru. But a Chandala, one who was born in a family of dog eaters, very, very low class, but still he is a Vaisnava, believes in Krishna, he follows Nitya Dharma. He is fit to be accepted as Guru. So when the Smarta Brahmanas hear that was like putting melt iron in the ears. They couldn't resist that, They were saying that he's destroying all Hindu Dharma. So they meet together and they wanted to kill him. So in a parikram in Navadvip, yes, Paramatala, this big square, they plan to kill him, and so they attack him and with bricks and bottles, throwing him everything. So at that time, all the parigram, all devotees, everyone started running away, protecting their own life, because these people were serious. They really wanted to kill Prabhupada, because actually these people were doing so much money from the this occupation, they were doing. So really they wanted to kill him. So at that time, Vinod Brahmachari took him into a shop, and understanding his guru's heart, then he exchanged clothes. He gave him his brahmachari white cloth to Prabhupada in exchange, and in this way, no one could recognize him, and Prabhupada could escape. So, Parangurudeva used to say, in the same way that the military, the army, those who are serving in the army, they're willing to give their lives just for their own country without any hesitation. They go to war and they fight, and if they die, they die, but they're doing for their own country. In the same way, a person who's doing bhakti, should have the same determination for his guru. He should have this determination. Oh yes, I will give my life for my guru. I will give my life for practicing bhakti, to do sadhana bhakti, of course. So he was praising so much this determination of the military, of the soldiers. How is it possible they have this determination to give everything for country, and devotees don't have this determination to give life for bhakti, for Krishna, for service of Hari Guru Vaishnava, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was putting this example, Devotees should be like this, should be fearless, like lion, Lion doesn't fear anything. Should be fearless to preach, the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gurudev used to say these things very much. So, I was reading this morning three his teachings, Like he's making 3 questions, and he's giving such very clear answers, So he's saying, what means the mercy of Guru? What is the mercy of Guru? What is that? And then he says, the mercy of Guru is the desire to serve Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava. That's the mercy of Guru. The same desire we have to serve Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava, this is the mercy of Sri Guru. So when Guru gives mercy, then he gives you this desire. This is the mercy of Guru. Just very simple, the desire to serve Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava. Okay. Then he said, how to be free of Vaishnava aparat. This is a very strong enemy. Many times we're so confident in temple with devotees, and many times our behavior is not correct. So how to become free of Vaishnava Aparadha. And he says very clearly, by honoring different adhikaris, one is free of Vaishnava Aparadha. In other words, if one is an Uttam Adhikari, then you have to respect him as an Uttam Adhikari, not respect him as an Kanistha Adhikari. If one is a Kanistha Adhikari, give proper respect, not give the respect of a Kanistha. Sorry, a Madhyam Adhikari, give the respect of a Madhyam, not the respect of a Kanistha Adhikari. So Mahaprabhu said very clearly, to your superiors, you should be humble, no? You should worship them. To your equals, you should be friend. And to your inferiors, you should be compassionate. No, Prahlad Maharaj, he was like exalted Bhakta, no? And he used to treat his masters and gurus as the supreme personality of Godhead. That was his behavior with his gurus, as the supreme personality of Godhead, the same as them. He would be a brother to his equals, and he would be a father to his inferiors. This is Prahlad Maharaj. So he's showing as well how the behavior of Bhaktas should be. And then he said, only when we consider Vaishnavas as our very good friends, our real friends, then we will not commit aparadha. No. So this is understood. No, Prahlad Maharaj says, no, Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnuharam Padasam Achanam Vandanam Dasyam. One should consider Krishna as the best friend. So in the same way, one should consider Vaishnava as the best friends, because actually they are the ones who are really helping us. No? So only then we will understand what's the affection of Vaishnava. And then last, he says, how to identify a Vaishnava. No? And then he says, normally we are attracted to Vaishnavas because we see in them they're humble, they're tolerant, they're generous, they're sweet, they're soft heart. No, they're very nice to be near them. They're very tolerant. They tolerate us. All our, so, but then Parambuddha says, no, these are not the qualities how to identify a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava should be identified by his attitude in serving Sri Vishnu, by his dedication to serve Sri Vishnu. That's the only adhikar to understand a Vaishnava. How he's serving, what's his dedication, then we can understand what type of Vaishnava. Like Krishna says in Gita, no? How is this sloka? He says, his sloka not coming now, but anyhow, he says that even for a person who makes the most abominable sin, he does the worst thing that can be done, still he has to be considered a sadhu if he is completely determined in Krishna Seva. No? What is the verse? No, the verse, let's look up. Okay, anyhow, so even though so even though the person might do a blatant mistake, but still, because he's completely dedicated to Sri, he has to be considered a sadhu. So in the same way, Parambuddha is telling, no, only how is his dedication, how is his seva to Hari Guru Vaishnava, then that's how we measure, that's how we make judgment, not like other qualities. Okay, that's little difficult, no, to understand and to perceive, but this is what he's teaching, no. So there are so many, actually, there are so many teachings, so many things that can be told about him, but time is short. So we just pray to him, to his lotus feet, that give us the strength, you know, as you want, so we can do bhajan and we can preach as you like, and we can serve you as you like. Jai Sri Param Gurudev ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande.
Prabhu Sit close and take this also. This?
Right.
20 minutes.
5 minutes.
20.
Gurve Gauri Chandraya Radhikaya Tadaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhakta Bhakta Namo Namo. Seraph, my humble basis on the divine lotus seat of my Diksha Guru Srila Bhakti Goswami Maharaj, and the civil and the basis is under my Siksha Guru Srila Bhakti Goswami Maharaj, and to our senior sannyas disciple Srila Gurudev Srila Bhakti Maharaj, Brahmachari Achurananda, and all Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis according to the level of advancement. So, Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaja, from just what I gathered, through Gurudev Muslim. He was Keshari, meaning lion like a chariot, and he was very powerful in his Siddhanta and his presentations. And when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada disappeared from this world, the Gaudiya Math became plunged into politics. And perhaps you are seeing, history repeats itself, perhaps you are seeing the same thing now. And therefore, this personality, Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Maharaj, he formed the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. And three personalities joined him, Srila Chivika Maharaj, Srila Bhama Goswami Maharaj, Srila Gurudev. And therefore, he became the shelter of this Gaudiya Vaishnava teachings in its purest form, and Siddhanta. And he established, Krishna as in white form, because normally Krishna is like a thundercloud, dark bluish. And it says when Krishna is in separation from Radharani, his dark form transformed into his whitish form. And Radharani is showing man, jealous, loving anger, and he became immersed in that mood. And he also says that those who abandon Krishna to worship the impersonal Brahm are like those who try to extricate rice from empty husks. Saguna Meknam Brahm. So, in this age, there are many corruptions and many doctrines in Kali Yuga, all trying to deviate, the sincere soul from the path of pure bhakti. And these teachers, their behavior is incomprehensible. Navigena bujhai mira. So therefore, it takes one to know one. So only another acharya can really, describe the glories of another acharya. So that's how powerful this line is, this Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So just one small pastime. So one time, Kesava Gosvami Maharaja was sitting in a chair and he had his foot on top of the table and he was wearing white cloth. And Bhakti Srila Gosvami Maharaj happened to come in at that time, and he saw that everyone, brahmacharis and those who were wearing saffron cloths, so offering dandavats to this personality who is wearing white cloth, and he was amazed by that. And he inquired, who is this person? So they said, don't you know who he is? He's Demerara. He's the one who transformed a cemetery into a beautiful mango garden. So because there was a cemetery and some incident took place about the land, and Guru Maharaj happened to transform that land overnight, like that. So as I said, the acharyas, they came to get this pure divine love. And if one is sincere on this path, he will be guided accordingly because his Lord is in the heart. And Krishna's Paramatma in the heart will guide those who are sincere in this path. And therefore, this continuation of bhajan, Krishna bhajan, pure Krishna bhajan will continue, and this pure lineage come from Guru Parampara. So, all is not lost in this present time. Those who are sincere will come to the pathway that leads to a next personality which continue this tradition by the mercy of Shri Guru and all the previous acharyas. So on this auspicious occasions, we humbly submit our salutations, we propitiate the divine lotus feet of this powerful acharya, who was like the pillar for Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, and we submit our humble obeisances to his divine lotus feet and beg for his mercy. So Srimad Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaja ki jai, Shri Gurudeva ki jai.
personal request. What to do? Gopal Prabhu doesn't want to fulfill my desire. Gurave Guru Chandraya Radhika Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namo Srila Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaja Ki Jai. So sadly not time enough, and also Gopal Prabhu didn't agree to fulfill my desire and speak a little bit on glorification. Anyway, we're pressed by time, so Srila Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaja was a very, very special personality. In his pranama mantras, it said, Atimartya Charitraya Svashritanancha Paline Jiva Devataya Srinama Premadaya. Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaja was completely intolerant to the sufferings of the living entities. And his character was completely astonishing. He was having so many qualities, amazing, amazing qualities. Usually those qualities could consider to be contradictory. For example, when he was known as Kriti Ratna, means expert, accomplisher of practical tasks. So many senior devotees, sannyasis even, they were thinking, oh, he is not interested in bhajan, he is mostly interested in, managing and etc., etc. So, on the other hand, when Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to give Kriti Ratna, as his name was, sannyas, then many devotees were protesting, Kunja Bihari Prabhu, his name became Srila Bhaktivilas Tirtha Maharaj later, and others were saying, oh, Prabhupada, if you give Vinoda Das sannyas, then the mat will be without the expert manager. You will not be able to manage things, all the temples, all the properties, etc. So therefore his character was universal. He was an all-rounder. Then greatest Rasika poet, simultaneously greatest Rasika poet. Prabhupadantaranga Sarva Sadguna Shalini Mayavad Timartya Charitraya, the second one, Gaurashraya Vigrahaya Krishna Kamai Kacharine Rupanuga Pravaraya Vinoditi Swarupine. So in this very special pranama, Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Goswami Maharaj is saying about Srila Gurudev, about his internal seva. So this is like Swarupa Lakshana of our Param Gurudev's personality. Gaurashraya Vigrahaya. He has completely surrendered to the lotus feet of Sri Gaura, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Completely surrendered. So great, great example. When Param Gurudev accepted our Shiva Gurudev in Navadvip, then Gurudev said, oh Gurudev, I'm giving all my love I had for my family, I had for my dynasty, for my job, for my children, for everything to your lotus feet. So in that same way, Srila Gurudev gave as example how Param Gurudev gave his life to the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. So when there was some occasion like Srila Prabhupada's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disappearance day, then Srila Param Gurudev was so deeply feeling separation with Prabhupada, he could not pronounce his name. He said, Pra, could not really pronounce his name. So dear Prabhupada was to Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Maharaja, and we heard from Achyutananda Prabhu the story about how, like Ganesh in the times of Ramanujacharya, Prabhu saved him by taking his clothes. So in that same way, Srila Param Gurudev take up the cloth of sannyasi, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, to save his life, because he was in danger, great danger, and gave him his white cloth. So great, great example Guru Seva. Generally, it would be not proper, but Guru Seva goes beyond all social formalities, all type of caste type of mentality, etc. So Gaurashraya Vigrahaya Shri, Gaurashraya Vigrahaya, sorry, jet lag, it was out of memory. Gaurashraya Vigrahaya Shri, Gaurashraya Vigrahaya Shri, Chapaline, Gaurashakti, No. Gaurashraya Vigrahaya Shri Chapaline Prabhupadantarangaya. He was one of the topmost, closest associates of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. One of the closest associates. But that also proves this episode with exchanging clothes shows that completely. And finally, in the last line, his eternal seva is delineated here. Vinoditi Swarupini. He is known as Sri Vinoda Manjari in the intimate pastimes of Shri Radha and Radha Vinod Bihari. So when Param Gurudev was building Shri Devananda Gaudiya Mat in Navadvip, when the time came to build the new temple, 1963, I think it was, then they were building the 3 steps leading to the platform of the deities. And Param Gurudev said, okay, there will be 3 steps, and those steps will be like dark blue, golden, and pink. So when the devotees asked Param Gurudev, some gods were near, they asked Param Gurudev, why necessarily those colors? So, dark blue is the color of Krishna, Brajendrananda Shyama Sundar. The yellow means golden color is the color of Srimati Radha Thakurani, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, and the pink. Then Param Gurudev stopped for some time. Like he became internal, like maybe half a minute he could not speak. And then, okay, power of speech returned, and he said, this is a very special Gopi Manjari, serving the divine couple. So he gave the hint on his eternal Swarupa, Sri Vinoda Manjari. So that is why even our Gurudev's deities are mostly Radha Vinoda Bihari, same as Param Gurudev's. Then in the last pranana, it is said about his mission mostly, what he accomplished being in this world. Prabhupada Antarangaya Svarchitanam Chitalini Rupanuda Pravaraya, was that? Mayavada Tamognaya Vedanta. So he destroyed the philosophy of Mayavad completely at that time, because in India, the beginning of 20th century, end of 19th, beginning 20th century, Mayavada became very prominent because the first preacher of, let us say, Indian thought, let us say, like an abstract way, Vivekananda went to the West, went to America, and he started preaching Advaita Vedanta. So the West became completely perturbed. It was complete misrepresentation of the Vedantic philosophy. So Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, they were calling that Vedanta, but that was quite wrong. And Param Gurudev established Gaudiya Vedanta as philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is Gauravani. Gauravani is actually Vedanta. That's why he opened the society and named it Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. Because the term Vedanta became like corrupt, misrepresented. Vedanta means Advaita Vedanta. It means Tattvamasi, you are that, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma, all those 4 aphorisms. Pragyanam Brahma, goal of knowledge is Brahman, and Sarvkal Vidam Brahma, everything you can see is all Brahman. But Param Gurudev was not like that. Paraham Gurudev was saying, no, Vedanta means very clear understanding of Bhagavan in the first place, his manifestations, I mean, his expansions of his energies in the process of Shakti Parinamavada, we say. Shakti Parinamavada means transformation of the energies in the form of Jiva. That's transformation of Jiva Shakti in the form of Maya. It's transformation of Maya Shakti. So he established that connection very, very firmly and put it into the hearts of the Jivas in this world. So formally, it found manifestation as a series of articles on the subject of history of Mayavad. And later, it became a book which was known as Mayavada Ki Jivana, the life history of Mayavad, otherwise Vaishnava Vijaya, the victory of Vaishnavism, and later edition in English it became known as Beyond Nirvana, Beyond Nirvana. So, doctrine of Nirvana was very popular in the world. Even Buddhism found its place in India later. And especially in Mayavad was so prominent. But Param Gurudev just smashed it, completely smashed it by that book. That book is really very deep, not so easy to understand. And what Param Gurudev really did, I think at least some of you have read it, so you can understand how deep is that. So he did a great deliberation upon the life history of Mayavad and how Mayavad was manifested. And the first Mayavadi was who? That was Ravana, the first Mayavadi. And the greatest Mayavadi of the later days, like 20th century, is Hermann Hesse, the great writer. So Param Gurudev, he really scrutinized all those scriptures, even, he was quoting even Buddhist scriptures like Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra, with terrible things are said, He scrutinizingly studied that and said, you see, here they say like this, and here they say like this. But they say, Buddhists say, no eyes, no nose, no, etc. Those things, no mind, no this, no that, no that. That's called actually, Mayavada is hidden, that same conception hidden. So Param Gurudev just opened Pandora's box and showed everything. See what terrible things are there, okay? And now see what the true conception is. So as if you can see the sun instead of the darkness. The darkness, people say that in the darkness there are so many interesting things also. That's why they go into darkness and, perform so many activities. But the darkest activity is actually being a Mayavadi. It's much worse than, any ordinary sinful activity. So that's why Param Gurudev, he made that very, very significant input into smashing Mayavada, just smashing. That was a complete explosion for the world, what Srila Param Gurudev did. So Mayavada Tamagnaya. I remember one little episode of his biography when he was small. He was a student. He was a student, actually, not so small. He was a student, college student in Bengal. And in Bengal at that time, Chaitanya Charitamrita was still very popular. And one of the disciplines in that college was Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the professor was explaining Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings to Srila Sanatana Goswami, which takes quite a significant place in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, maybe I think 6 or 7 chapters, something like that. So he was saying, commenting on that verse, Advaya Tattva Shuna Sanatan Krishna Swarupa Shuna Sanatan Advaya Tattva Vrajendra Nandan. O Sanatan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, please hear about the Swarupa of Krishna. He is known as Vrajendra Nandana and he lives in Vraj. So the teachers started explaining, as many people who come from India, and have some philosophical conceptions, 99.9%, they say, actually everything is one. So that professor started speaking. Oh, actually everything is one, and Krishna's Swarupa is the impersonal Brahman. And when we deliberate upon the essence of the absolute truth, then we see it's completely impersonal, nirvishesh, nirakar, nirashakta. It has no form, it has no activities, it has no energies like this. And then Param Gurudev immediately stood up and started giving counter-arguments. He was very, very educated. At that time already, he was listening to Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That was the year more or less 1915, because Param Gurudev was born 1898. So he was 17-year-old youth then. And he was coming to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was not, hadn't established Gaudiya Math yet. That was just a gathering, you know. They were doing type of namahata, and they were already started some activities like puja, like they were like 4 or 5 brahmacharis. So Param Gurudev was one of the first. So then he was coming back to college, and in college he was teaching those professors. So he established immediately Ishvara, Jiva, Maya, that triangle. He established immediately the authority of the Vedas, and he explained the position of the Jiva according to the Vedas, etc. On another occasion, one professor quoted, Jivara Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas, Krishna Ratatasta Shakti Beda Bed Prakash. So the Jiva is simultaneously one and different manifestation from Krishna, Beda Beda Prakash. And by the Swarupa, by the intrinsic characteristic that Jiva is the eternal servant of Krishna, so Param Gurudev heard from that same professor that, oh, actually Jiva is same Krishna but covered by Maya, and Maya is also Krishna but hidden form, so he could not tolerate that. He said, no, Krishna is simultaneously identical and different manifestations from Krishna, like a spark coming out from a fire. Jiva has independent existence. Krishna is never to be called, Jiva is never to be called Krishna. So Param Gurudev immediately uprooted those false conceptions. So when he was very small, he was very loving to all living entities. When he was at school, he created a type of committee, school type of society for helping poor people. And the mother was very strict, the daughter of Zamindar, Srimati Bhuvan Mohini Devi, her name was. The father was Sri Yut Chandra Guhat Hakurta. And the mother was daughter of Zamindar, so daughter of landowner, so she was very, very devoted to Lord and very strict in her principles. So when Jonah, as his family name was, Jonah means lightworm, glowworm, he came from school quite late. Actually, it was like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, quite, dark time of the day. So mother was very much worried. Where have you been? She was having a stick at the ready, to beat him. Oh, mother, actually, if you only knew, I was spending those money you were giving me for snacks, for helping poor people. And today we found one widow, was very sick. I think she had a cholera or some serious disease, and she had no children. Lonely lady, sick and helpless. So with our boys, we collected those monies they received for their snacks, and we went and bought her some food, some medicine, took care of her, about her. So mother started crying. The stick fell from her hands, and she immediately embraced Jonah and said, oh, I will never make any trouble for you. You please continue your activities. And then later, Param Gurudev was very, very active. He was a natural leader, natural manager. So in any situation, later, when he was in any new type of surrounding, like college or school or here or there, or just some people, his acquaintances, he was organizing some committee. Some, for example, he started a monthly magazine, Prasun, called Prasun, where he was speaking about morality, religiosity, some nice subjects. So father was also religious, but he was sometimes taking some food from outside. So mother was very strict. She was not allowing him home actually. If he had been eating outside, it's very important for us also. Even those small things. So he was physically strong. He was an expert sportsman, a footballer, captain of football team, and really Kriti Ratna, as he was given that title later. So the master of practical accomplishments. So he was, all of his life was dedicated for helping people. And then finally, with his two aunties, he came to the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. She's Sarojini Devi and Priyatama Devi, two aunties. They were actually one of the first lady disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and they took little Vinod, as he was calling with Jonah still. They took him to Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So first Harikatha he heard there. I was still in 1915, 16, 17, those years. Then in 14, you know, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur left as well. In 15, Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj left. Then 16, 17, Srila Prabhupada started thinking about how to organize Gaudiya Math. And then he took sannyas, Srila Prabhupada, from Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj. And started yearly Navadvipa Mantala Parikrama and all those great tradition for reestablishing the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the modern world. So then finally Srila Param Gurudev got initiation both Harinam and Diksha, one of the first disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada he became. And immediately Srila Prabhupada gave him so many tasks of organizing all the lands, because he was an expert zamindar, expert landowner. So when he was dealing with those land tenants who were disobedient, you know, he was punishing them. Sometimes with his, what's that, whip, yes, he was whipping them. And he was beating money out of them, etc. He was riding a white horse, you know, with his whip. He was very, very direct. And then when he was still in school, he mastered the carpentry, and he was able to make chairs and tables with his own hand. You know, imagine. So it was so much practical, in all respects practical. He spent so much time in courts, you know, defending Gaudiya Math, etc. Then later, when Prabhupada's preaching became very wide, in end of 20s, I don't remember the year, the governor of Bengal, Sir John Anderson, visited Mayapur. So for that, Srila Bhakti Saranga Gosvami Maharaj, who was still then a Prakrita Bhakti Saranga Prabhu at that time, and Param Gurudev, they went to meet Sir John Anderson in Krishnanagar, where he came for some visit, and invited him. So then John Anderson was very impressed by the project of Mayapur, and he was very grateful, really, and he said, oh, if you want any help from the government, most welcome, we will help. So, and Prabhupada was very, very pleased. So preaching of Gaudiya Math was going very nicely. So then Srila Param Gurudev was proposed about sannyas like 3-4 times. During Prabhupada's lifetime, it was maybe 2 or 3 times. One time in Calcutta, the management of Bazar Gaudiya Math said, no, Prabhupada, if you give Vinod Da sannyas, Vinod Da means elder brother Vinod, sannyas, that will be just the end of all Gaudiya Math. So, okay, it was cancelled. On another occasion, it was seriously prepared, again it was cancelled. So, finally, when Srila Prabhupada left, 1937, one time he came in a dream to Vinodada, our Param Gurudev, and said, oh, you still haven't taken sannyas. So all the activities in Gaudiya Math are not going well because you have not taken sannyas. So you can think, oh, does sannyas really mean so much? Yes, Gurudev was stressing that. He was remembering how Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada took sannyas from Param Gurudev. So how important that was. You know, sannyasa mantra means gopi mantra. It means really a lot, really a lot. Actually, we were asking Srila Gurudev, if you're not a sannyasi, can you achieve perfection quickly? Gurudev said yes. But actually, sannyasa mantra is like concentrated Gopala mantra, and it's, how to say, it makes things quickly for you, more quickly. If you're really diligent, then you can do very quickly. But even without that, it's important. But for preaching, sannyasa is absolutely important. Absolutely important. Why? Not because of the formal, not because of the numbers, not because of some results, such and such amount of temples opened, such and such amount of books printed, such amount of disciples. And no, not for that. For the conception. For the proper conception. That's why what Srila Gurudev was saying to us, like senior devotees, no, I'll give you a sannyas. And a bit silently said, I will give you a real sannyas. Like this Gurudev said. I will give you a sannyas. Like looking, I will give you a real sannyas. Real sannyas means real mantra. So that was, in Param Gurudev's mission, in Param Gurudev's, conception, it was very, very, very important. So then finally, in 1940, I think the 41, Srila Prabhupada came in his dream for the last time. That was the final time. And he said, oh, you have to receive sannyas now. So then Param Gurudev in his dream saw all the ceremony. And finally, one of his godbrothers said quickly, loudly, Srila Kesava Maharaj ki jai, he said. Then Param Gurudev awoke. And such a dream. The name was given even, so he went to his godbrothers and said, listen, such and such thing, I saw this dream. And really the name was announced. And they opened the list of sannyasa names. There were 108. And many of them are very complicated, very difficult to pronounce. But some of them are quite well known, we know all of them. So one of them is Kesava. So therefore, that name was chosen, and Param Gurudev went to Srila Bhakti Gosvami Maharaj, his very advanced god brother. Also, we can say Shiksha Guru of all Gaudiya Math, Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava, Srila Bhakti Gosvami Maharaj, and took sannyas from him in Katva, which was also very important. So, but he established Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti, I think, 1 year before that. He established 1940, I think it was. 41 he took sannyas, if I'm not mistaken. So, one of the members establishing Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti was our Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Prabhupada, and also Narahari Seva Vigraha Prabhu was there, and Srila Bhakti Rakshak Goswami Maharaj, then Param Gurudev being very, very expert landowner. He organized the land for Srila Bhakti Rakshak Goswami Maharaj, also for his mat, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat mat. So they were meeting very often with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Goswami Maharaj and discussing very many philosophical subjects. So Gurudev remembers how that was. So they were like convincing each other, and like first Param Gurudev was completely convincing Srila Sridhar Maharaj on one point, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj was refuting that and convincing him from the opposite, and then it was going back and forth like philosophical transcendental ping pong, on one side for complete conviction one point, and the opposite point also complete conviction on the other side also. So they were able to do that. Once there was one very interesting discussion in the 50s, Gurudev remembers, in Kesava Gaudiya Math Mathura, I think it was, or Devananda, I don't remember. But anyway, the discussion was about the Swarupa of the Jiva. It's one of the crucial points even in the present Gaudiya Vaishnava society. Part of Vaishnavas are completely convinced that the Jiva's Swarupa is predestined, and the party is completely convinced that it depends on the association. So Guru can give that, bestow that. So there's a tinge of that conception still existing. But when a younger sannyasi, I think Rishikesh Maharaj was his name, asked Srila Bhakti Rakshakshitar Maharaj on the point. So Srila Bhakti Rakshakshitar Goswami Maharaj said something and then let our Param Gurudev speak. So our Param Gurudev quoted some very important verses to establish that the Jiva has a Swarupa which is already there. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Bunai, Shtavana Dishuddha Chitta Karaya Udoy. Nitya Siddha, so Krishna Prema is our hearts and is Nitya Siddha, is eternally existent. But only you have to undergo Shravanam, Kirtanam and other processes in order to enliven, how to say, that potential which exists eternally in our hearts. So Param Gurudev made it completely clear. Param Gurudev also quoted another verse, Kriti Sadhya Bhavet Sadhya Bhavasa Sadhana Abhida Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya Prakatya Kriti Sadhyata. So your sadhana can be called such only in that case if it's aimed towards bhava. But that bhava is again called in this verse Nitya Siddha. It's eternally existent. Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya. See, Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha. Even if you take the first verse of Shikshashtaka, Cheta Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahani. So this Cheta Darpana Marjana means cleansing the mirror of the heart is already proof, actually, that our Swarupa is existent, Nitya Siddha. So only we have to take up, glass surface or mirror surface, which is very much dusty and greasy simultaneously, dust plus grease, your grandmother's big mirror. So you have to take some sponge and some detergent in order to clean. So this is the process of sadhana. Cheta Darpana Marjanam, already this is the proof. So many verses Param Gurudev gave, and then Srila Siddhar Maharaj took the mic and he started speaking. And he spoke completely in the same line, So Param Gurudev established that. There was some controversy at that point, somebody challenged me, so I examined that subject. So then I found Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, the art of sadhana, completely same points, completely, no difference. That Swarupa is predestined, completely he's saying accurately that. So simultaneously Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaj, I have to finish soon, just 5 last minutes, was a very, very expert Rasika poet, very, very expert Rasika poet, very deep. So we sing his Mangalarati every morning. We will sing, I think this evening, Tulasi Parikrama, his song, very, very deep. Specifically, his Radha Vinoda Bihari Tatvashtaka is very important. So when Param Gurudev opened Radha Vinoda Bihari, Devananda Gaudiya, the deities were called Radha Vinoda Bihari. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu golden, Radhika is also golden, and Krishna is golden, let us say. So some senior brothers, some devotees were a bit surprised. What happened? Maybe Srila Kesava Maharaj doesn't have enough money for black marble, which is more expensive. But that was not the case, certainly. That was for a great reason. So Param Gurudev wrote that Radha Vinoda Bihari Tatvashtaka, which not only illuminates the tattva of Shri Radha and Krishna completely, not only illuminates the tattva of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu completely, but also illuminates the Advaita tattva completely. Because that is the proper Vedantic understanding of Advaita actually. What is Advaita? Non-difference. So when Radha and Krishna are together, then that tattva which comes from that is called Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When there is separation, then the qualities of Krishnatva and Radhatva, means the qualities of Krishna and Radha, they achieve the highest limit. And then mostly absorbed in separation. But when meeting takes place, then, when Raya Ramanatha started explaining that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just closed his mouth. Said, no, I don't know anyone who had come beyond that point. But actually that is called, Raya Ramanatha Samvada is called Prema Vilasa Vivarta, the transcendental transformation of Prema. Yeah, so it's like counterclockwise love, Srila Gurudev was saying. But Param Gurudev wrote, Radha Chinta Niveshena Yasya Kantir Vilopita Shri Krishna Charanam Bande Radha Lingita Vigraha. So this is the explanation why Krishna is Radha Vinod Bihari is golden. So Radha Vinod Bihari is golden for two reasons. Because he is Radha Lingita Vigraha, but Radha can be Radha Lingita and can be Radha Alingita. There are two meanings. First meaning is Radha Lingita, means Srimati Radhika touched his transcendental body. We say that Gauranga Mahaprabhu is that Krishna who has taken the Bhava and Kanti of Radhika. Bhava means mood, and Kanti means the color, bodily hue, color. So when Radhika touched Krishna, then he could not help but take her bodily color. When Krishna was in separation with Radhika, sitting at Imlitala in Vrindavan, under the tamarind tree, then he was thinking of Radhika, and then finally he could not help but take her bodily hue and the mood. So later, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he was very, very deeply absorbed in that feeling as well. So then, when Krishna started searching for Radhika, he went to Shringarvat, and then he saw her there. On another occasion, he went to Prema Sarovara, Manasarovara, on the other side of Yamuna. So when Krishna saw Radhika there, he started trying to break her man, her jealous anger. So decorating her hair, etc. But Krishna first put all of his possessions to the lotus feet of Radhika. His dearmost possessions, his peacock feather, his yellow pitambara, and finally his flute, the absolutely dearest possession. Smaramana kandalam namashirasya mandalam dehi padapalam modaram. Please extinguish that burning in my heart, which is taking all my life. So then Srimati Radhika stopped her man and fulfilled Krishna's desire. She put her foot on Krishna's head. So Krishna obtained new tilak of Radhika's red lak. So that Srimati Radhika, who was very pleased with Krishna and fully controlling Krishna, being established as Svadhina Bhartrika, the heroine completely controlling her hero, the hero. Then Srimati Radhika embraced Krishna. So when Radhika embraced Krishna, that was Radha Alingita Vigraha. Then Radhika completely covers Krishna, all parts of Krishna's body is completely covered with Radhika's mood, Radhika's color. So when this highest union is there of, meeting of Radha and Krishna, only then in meeting Radhika manifests her Madana Mahabhava. Before that, this is Modan, Mohan, and the highest manifestation, so Madan. So first it goes from Adiruddha then Mahabhav, Mahabhav then goes into Modan. Mohan is separation and Modan is only in meeting. So when Radha and Krishna meet, that is Mahaprabhu. So then Sevya and Sevaka change their roles. Then Krishna becomes Sevak and Radhika becomes Sevya, means the object of service. Ordinarily it doesn't happen without meeting, but in meeting it happens. And Radhika, and who is Krishna and who is Radha? Radha thinks that she is Krishna, Krishna thinks that she is Radha. So that is very, very high. I'm completely unqualified, but we're trying to touch it today. And Srila Gurudev gave us some hints. He commented upon Radha Vinoda Bihari Tattvashtaka. So that is the highest manifestation. Also Krishna's tattva. Krishna is black-white, because the absence of all material qualities. That's why his nirgun means has no material qualities. But according to the impersonalistic Advaita Vedanta, it means that he has no qualities as such. But no, Gurudev is saying no. The positive understanding of Vedanta is that Krishna is Gaura, because Gaura has all qualities. Because those are the qualities of Radha, and Krishna gains them, all those qualities. Well, certainly he gains all those qualities, he becomes Krishna and he can play flute. Why can Krishna play flute? Because Radhika gave him all qualities. Yes, but then more than that, Krishna becomes Gaura, and that is the pivot, how to say, the highest manifestation of all of Radha's qualities. That is what Krishna is trying to conceive and still cannot. So very, very, very high. So Srila Gurudev saw that, Param Gurudev saw that, and he gave that. So Srila Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaja ki jai. So on this appearance day, I'm praying to His lotus feet, please bestow your causeless mercy. Grandfather is more merciful than father, and please make me bona fide servant of my Gurudev. Srila Bhakti Prajnana Kesava Gosvami Maharaja ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari. Thank you so much. Very, very touching atmosphere here, and I hope all the other programs will be also as blissful and more. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande. Very good. So now we will perform Arati. Yes, Arati. Okay. Probably no time for any questions and comments. I would love to hear more devotees speaking. Maybe tomorrow, one or two devotees local can glorify Param Gurudev. No. Maybe still today possible, or if not, then tomorrow. Good. Tomorrow we will continue glorifying Param Gurudev. Actually, I was willing to, share some articles of Param Gurudev. I love so much his articles, so tomorrow we can discuss. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna.